Thanks for listening to a 3CR podcast. 3CR is an independent community radio station based in Melbourne, Australia. We need your financial support to keep going. Go to www.3cr.org.au for more information and to donate online.
And welcome to Lost in Science for another week where we talk about science. We talk about stuff. That's right. This week I'm going to be talking a little bit about birds and a little bit about the formation that they make in the sky and how the flying V, Manisha, you know that? Yeah.
Just how do they do that?
How do they do that and how do they pick a leader?
And why do they do it?
And why do they do it? And why do they do it? Yeah. I'm going to be asking those sorts of questions. What have you...
I'm sure it's for my personal amusement, no?
Always. What have you got in store for us today?
So I'm going to be talking about how we taste things.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Taste buds?
Taste buds, how we taste things, how we perceive our tastes. Yeah.
Is there a new taste?
Yeah. So there's a new study to kind of shake the way we think about things. Yeah.
And we are also going to be talking a little bit about the climate change conference that's happening in Paris at the moment, but on a local scale, isn't it? Like we're going to be talking a little bit about some citizen science projects and how maybe people around Australia can get involved in some climate science.
Yeah, would be good.
It'd be good. So stay tuned. Manisha, have you ever looked up into the dawn sky and seen a flock of ducks or birds taking flight?
Yes, it's lovely.
It is lovely.
Just beautiful.
Pretty magical, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. And normally they're in a V, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, a flying V or maybe even an inverted V, like an arrowhead flying towards
somewhere.
An apple, let's say. Now, when I look at birds flying, I'm asking a lot of questions. Why are they flying like that? How do they know to fly like that? Who's taking the lead? Is it always the same
more
bird?
Than I do.
You're the field ecologist.
I look at these birds and I go, ooh, pretty.
You say, I wish they were bats. But, why are they flying in a V and not in like a W or a J or a K? Well, there are two well-supported and complementary explanations for why birds fly in this formation. One, as you can probably guess, is to conserve energy by taking advantage of what's called an upwash or vortex field, which is created at the wingtips of the birds in front of them. And the other theory is to help with orientation and communication between the birds.
Explain this vortex thing more.
Yeah. So let's talk about conserving energy.
Yeah.
So, Manisha, imagine you're a bird.
Yes. Got it.
When you flap your wings, a rotating... Yep, you can do this at home just like Manisha's doing in the studio. You flap your wings and a sort of rotating vortex of air rolls off each of the tips of your wings.
Ooh.
And they're sort of making these sort of spirally vortexes at the edges of your wings. Now, these spiraling vortexes push air down immediately underneath the wing, but they also end up pushing air to the sides of the wings because air that goes down has to come up. So the air at the sides of the wings are pushing up. And that means if another bird puts its wing in that upward draft, then it is getting a little bit of the lift.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I guess, getting a bit of free lift, meaning the bird can save energy by mooching off the upward air created by you and your wings. Yeah.
Wow.
Which sort of makes sense in theory. And I'm sure there are a lot of physicists out there who are like,
of course.
upward drafts, of course.
Of
yes.
course. Indubitably.
But no one had ever taken any data from birds to see if they were actually saving energy, like any metabolic rates or anything like that. This was until an ornithologist named Henry Weimerskirch.
Very well done.
Henry Weimerskirch fitted pelicans with heart rate monitors. This was back in 2001, which is amazing.
So they're wearing like little Fitbits?
Yeah, so he put Fitbits on pelicans and found that the birds at the back of the V had slower heart rates than the birds in the front of the V. So they flap less often. So this confirms that the birds do benefit from being in a V, but not exactly how they achieve these results. And that, Manisha, is where the endangered northern bald ibis comes into it.
Of course it is. Exactly.
Isn't it always? Isn't
Well
it always? Now, a researcher named Stephen Portugal and his team of scientists,
Of course.
they also got on the pelican with a Fitbit, but with the endangered northern bald ibis. So they strapped devices to a flock of ibises who were making their maiden voyage to Central Europe. So these ibises are really endangered. So the scientists sort of piggybacked on the back of a conservation project that was trying to get these ibises back into their native habitat. And so they... Have you ever seen the film Fly Away Home?
No.
Yeah, it's an old film from the 90s. It has Anna Paquin and Jeff Daniels in it. And in that film, just like Stephen Portugal and his team did, they jumped in a microplane, like one of those tiny planes that doesn't have like big rotors and stuff like that. And they led the birds like a big mama bird. They led them across Europe. And then so the birds would stop when they stopped and the birds would take flight when they took flight.
Cool. Where were the ibises moving from?
That's a good question. I think somewhere around Asia.
Okay. Yes.
So what they found was the birds fly exactly how our physicist friends would have predicted them to fly. They are located in the exact positions that is most beneficial for them to conserve energy.
Was the mama bird always in front?
Well, the mama bird being the microplane was always in front.
Okay.
Yes. Some ibises preferred to be on the right of the V. Some ibises preferred to be on the left. Some preferred the centre, others on the edge. But on whole, the birds swapped around quite a lot and they would change position. So everyone would have a turn sort of being in the front, being more in the front of the V or being more in the back of the V. But being in a flying V isn't just about staying in the right place. It's also about flapping at the right time. So as each bird flaps its wings, the trail of sort of upward air left by the wingtips also moves up and down. So the birds need to be able to sense what the birds in front of them are doing exactly and keep their own wings within the right sort of distance of the birds in front of them. They sort of trace the same path of air that the birds in front of them trace. So if you think about if you're walking in the snow and someone in front of you has made a path. And it's a lot easier for you to step on their steps because they've already compacted the snow, so it's less energy for you. Yeah, so that's like what these birds are doing, but in the air.
I wonder how they communicate that they need to switch. Like the front guys go, okay, getting tired. Somebody take over, please.
Yeah, well, maybe it's like the Tour de France where they have little headsets.
Oh, maybe. They do have Fitbits, so I wouldn't pass it.
They're very technologically advanced, these guys.
Oh, the ibis.
But what about other birds that don't fly for as long? So take, for example, the humble pigeon. They don't travel great distances, but they still fly in a flock. How do they choose who they fly, like who they follow?
Do they have a
jetpack?
No. But wait, do pigeons fly in formation or do they just fly in like a cloud?
They sort of fly in a cloud, but they do definitely have a leader.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like the most wise pigeon.
Well, that's what people thought. Maybe it was the most wise pigeon. But someone's like gone and done this. And in what probably takes the cake for the cutest ornithological experiment, these scientists from Oxford took 4 flocks of pigeons and put tiny little backpacks on them.
Little GPS backpacks?
Tiny little GPS backpacks on them. And sent them away and sent them flying around. What they found out was some birds are naturally faster and consistently get to the front, and it's those guys that become the leaders. So, yeah, the researchers found that when the birds flew a route on their own for the first time, that the leaders were no better than the followers in forging a direct route home to their roost. But when the birds were tested individually after they had flown the route as part of their flock, then the leaders were found to have learned better routes home than the followers. Oh. So I guess that's sort of like, you know, when you're driving in the car, and if you're the driver, then you're watching and navigating and you know the route that you take better than the passenger who just
exactly. Who's
sits
just watching there
and doesn't...
Probably takes a nap.
Yeah, probably takes a nap. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a better navigator to start with. It just means you've got more practice.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, it gives a bit of insight into why pigeons have these consistent leadership hierarchies. It's just that some of them are faster than others. But I guess we can say maybe it's true. Birds of a feather flock together.
We all know about our 5 tastes. We can taste sweet, salty, savory, bitter, and sour things. Well, some of us learned that there's different regions of your tongues that could, where the receptors are grouped and they detect these certain flavors. But we also know that that's a little bit wrong and that your receptors are actually just scattered around. Yeah, so it's not that you have sections or regions of your tongue that taste different flavors, but your receptors are all over your tongue and they send signals to your brain. But there may actually be some work that is suggesting that this isn't actually true. So it's not necessarily that your receptors send a flavor signal to your brain, just your receptors are activated and then your brain makes sense of the signals. Does that make sense?
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, so anyways, there's a study out of the Zucker lab at Columbia University in the US, and they challenged the idea of taste receptors sending our brain messages about the flavor. In their recent study, they suggest that even though the receptors send a chemical signal, it's actually the brain that does all the thinking, the brain that does all the work.
So it's not like our taste buds are specially set up for salty, sweet, or bitter. It's just that they are sending a signal and then we're interpreting it as that.
Yeah, so we don't necessarily have like flavor receptors on our tongues.
The difference between flavors and tastes? Is there a difference between flavors and tastes?
I think that they were used interchangeably in the articles.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. The lab actually identified that there's different parts of your brain that are activated when you taste something. So there's actually a sweet region in your brain or a sour region in your brain, a bitter region.
I imagine the bitter region would be very, very sort of
grumpy. I kind of imagined Inside Out characters tasting all of... Yeah. So anyways, your brain gets these chemical messages from the taste receptors, and then the chemical message goes to these different sections of your brain. It may have nothing to do with your tongue entirely. Once they identified these regions, they actually set out to activate it or deactivate the regions and kind of convince you, or in their case, mice, that they're tasting something that they're not tasting.
So activate or deactivate regions in the brain.
Yeah.
And convince them that they're tasting something
different
that they aren't.
Yeah. Wow. So they're trying to see if you could maybe taste bitter when you're having something or without having something bitter, or maybe you're tasting something bitter or something that is bitter, but you find it to be sweet. So just kind of changing the way that you perceive your taste.
That would be terrifying.
It'd be interesting. So they conducted their trial on mice, and once they identified the regions responsible for the taste, they silenced the neurons and observed the response in the mice. And at first, they were just relying on observational traits. So they would give the mice plain water, activate the sweet sensor, and see how the mice responded. And they were giving very happy cues, like they were licking it. They were very joyed to drink this water.
Is that a scientific term?
Yes, it is. And then they did the same with the bitter stuff, and they apparently, like with plain water, the mice were avoiding the water and like grimacing. If mice can grimace.
And what were they doing with the sour? They were like puckering up their little mice lips.
And they just couldn't handle it.
Looking like they ate a lemon.
Now I'm imagining Ratatouille like trying. Oh dear. Anyways, they wanted to make sure that the observations weren't just them being like, oh, I'm sure that the mice were completely in love with the sweet water or whatever. So yeah, the researchers went ahead and they trained the mice to give a novel behavioral response. So once they had something sweet, they trained the mice to respond individually to that versus if they had something bitter. So there was a lot of mice training. And then they did this whole experiment all over again, gave the mice plain water, activated the sweet sensor, and they did the novel behavioral response as if they had something sweet, and the same thing with the bitter. So they found that the response to the true stimuli wasn't any different to the fake stimuli.
To them just activating
the sensors.
The sweet or the bitter part of their brain. What was the thing that the mouse did that made it?
They didn't say in either. So I read a couple articles, and I read the article, like the paper that came out. It came out in Nature. And it just had a novel behavioral response.
A novel behavior. I wonder what it was. Like
maybe like
a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
They like just did backflips or something like that if they really liked it. So this is actually a pretty interesting discovery because it shows that we don't have varying responses to our taste like we do with other senses. Like we have different responses to olfaction cues and to hearing. So we can like things more or less, if we can like the taste of things more or less, like we can train ourselves. But the actual cue and what we're sensing is in our brains. It's all hardwired. Alternatively, like our other senses, it has a lot to do with our experience and with our learning. You can think about like how you can have really different tastes in music from someone, or even just how some scents are really pleasing to some people and really displeasing to other people. So it's really closely related to just your experiences and how you've learned to appreciate those things,
Absolutely.
those senses. The thing that I found curious about all of this was they're essentially mapping the brain for these taste receptors, so like taste regions in your brain. And if you think about something like olfaction that has such a strong strong relationship with your memory, like, you know what I mean? Like you can smell something and it elicits like such a strong memory.
Such a strong memory.
Right?
The strongest memory.
The strongest. But I'm just thinking, how about if we can map our like olfaction cues in our brain as well, and like then kind of be able to tell when we have a good memory from some scent or a bad memory from some scent or something like that. So that could be something cool.
That would be amazing.
And also
future research.
Yeah, future research. And then so I got really interested in looking into these things.
Yeah.
And apparently a degradation of olfaction performance is like an early sign of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Yeah. The studies that looked at the Alzheimer's and Parkinson's weren't really definitive. It was just more, they hadn't proven it. There's just like in a lot of cases it tends to happen. But it could be cool because maybe we can modify those regions and help with these diseases.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah. Just follow your nose, I guess. Now, Manisha, it's a pretty landmark time. the heads of state and representatives of 196 countries have been in Paris at the United Nations Conference on Climate Change to take action against the effects of climate change. Now there's every chance that the conference might end with a slightly disappointing feeling.
Yeah.
So instead of talking about that today, I thought maybe we could talk about the different ways that climate scientists and researchers are looking to the general public to help with scientific results.
Yeah,
Citizen science, yeah, which ultimately is going to help research to be more robust, and in the long run will mean people will have a more scientifically valid information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's good because it's little ways that we can all help out.
That's right, yeah. So you've got a citizen science project worth talking about?
Yes, I do. I actually have one that's based in Melbourne, and it was a project that was done between 7 of our local councils in Melbourne East, along with the University of Melbourne, ARCU, which is the Australian Research Unit for Urban Ecology, which is the Australian Research Centre for Urban Ecology, which is the research unit that I work with, and the Department of Research Management and Geography, also at Uni Melbourne. So the 7 councils, they all came together and they wanted some sort of like a action framework against climate change because the communities in those areas were really concerned. So this all came out of people raising the concern and then the councils actually acting on it. And so all of these people came together and they developed this framework to monitor the health of the ecosystem. And as we're talking about climate change, one of the things that trickles down to is the fact that our ecosystems are changing. Yeah. And so a lot of our biodiversity is being lost or at risk, threatened. Things are changing, but we don't really know how the changes are going or if the change is a good change or a bad change. So this framework really sets up this long-term monitoring plan to allow us to monitor 4 biodiversity indicators: vegetation extent, vegetation condition, phenology, and local bird communities. The 7 councils, they're called EGA, or the Eastern Alliance for Greenhouse Action, and they paired up with BirdLife Australia, and they set up these BirdLife has these apps on your phone where you can put in which birds you've seen.
And you can sort of like geotag the birds to a place and a time, so take a picture of them, upload it.
Exactly. So they already have this massive database. But then with these 7 councils, they set up these trails in the councils where you could go on these self-guided tours, and they have plaques with information, and it tells you exactly what to do. And you can go out, identify some birds, and log it into the system. And it's other things too, like you can log in the trees that are in the area and things like that. I don't know the specifics, but it's an interesting program because you can go out in your own neighborhood and log some birds, and it's really intended for anybody. They have photos of the birds that they're looking for and the populations that they want to count, so you don't really even have to be an expert birder to do it. You can just go along these trails, you have your smartphone with you, logging all these birds, and it goes into this massive database that BirdLife has been organizing for almost 20 years.
So that information is then going to be used by the councils?
Yeah, so it's going to be used by the councils, and I'm sure they'll send it out to some science as well, because they'll be able to show like how communities are changing, how some populations may be coming into certain areas and some populations may be leaving. Maybe we're switching the range of certain species. Maybe we're getting more species in the city, or maybe we're getting less. You never really know what's going on, and each species will respond in its own way. So it'll be an interesting project, and it's a cool way to see the trend.
That sounds really cool. Well, I wanted to talk about a citizen science project that's sort of similar, but instead of looking at how our animal communities are adapting to climate change, it's looking at how the human population is adapting to climate change. So this citizen science research, it's actually new from CSIRO. So they're aiming to document what people are sort of informally doing right now in response to a changing climate.
So what people are doing, like in their own homes?
Yeah, what they're doing in their own homes, maybe on their farms, maybe how they might be like saving water or changing their behaviours. Yeah, or changing their behaviours to stop the effects of extreme weather and that sort of thing. Yeah. And so so whether it be a response in a change in rainfall or an increase in temperature or extreme weather events. So it's only specifically to New South Wales at the moment, but the residents of New South Wales, if you do live there, then you should jump online and have a look at the CSIRO.mysocialpinpoint.com and have a look at this map. You can pinpoint exactly where you are, and then you can say, whether you've changed your transportation method, whether you might have changed your bushfire readiness, water management in your home, or garden modifications, farming practices. You can take photos of the things that you've changed and upload them. You can add sort of like a general description as to what you've done.
This would be a great place to get ideas of things
and
to do.
And a great place to get ideas as well. Totally.
See what other people are doing. See what your neighbours are doing. That's cool.
See what your neighbours are doing. See what different people, from a scientific point of view, it's a great sort of data, just interesting to look at a whole map and see, these guys in the northeast are doing more sort
this
of
type of
getting ready for fires, but these guys down here are doing more water related
these people here
behaviors and so that's really interesting as well.
Interesting.
So it should be interesting to see if they extend it all the way out to the rest of Australia, or maybe they're just sort of getting the information, and sort of working it out at the moment.
Yeah, cool. Nice one.
Yeah.
So those are some really interesting projects, and it would be really cool to get on board with any of those.
Absolutely. Do you know the website?
Yeah, for mine, I'm pretty sure you can just go onto the BirdLife website, and they've got information on their bird data and their Atlas program. So even if you're not in one of those 7 councils I mentioned, you can definitely jump on board to one of the other community involvement things that BirdLife does. So just check it out.
Absolutely. And the CSIRO Citizen Science Research is at CSIRO.mysocialpinpoint.com, but we'll put the links up on our website.
Yeah, it'd be great. Get on board.
That's all the science we have for you this week. Lost in Science is recorded in the studios of 3CR in Melbourne and broadcast on the Community Radio Network with the financial assistance of the Community Broadcasting Foundation. If you want to contact us, and that would be great, you can email us at lostinsci@gmail.com, find us on Facebook, or maybe try some pigeon mail, also known as Twitter. Or you can download our podcast on the web. And join us next week when Stu, Chris, Manisha and Claire get lost in science!
Thanks for listening to a 3CR podcast. 3CR is an independent community radio station based in Melbourne, Australia. We need your financial support to keep going. Go to www.3cr.org.au for more information and to donate online.